Hi Stuart, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Good. How are you?
Very good. So Stuart has used the tool now for how long? 1 month? I think you started in
Yeah.
December, right?
Yeah, between 1 and 2 months, 1.5 months maybe. Yeah.
1.5 months, correct? Yeah, with the December break also. So basically, what we're gonna do today, just to understand where Stuart comes from, and then how is it using it. He had quite success with it, and it's interesting to understand how business development basically has evolved over time. So Stuart, just tell me real quick, since when you do business recruiting, on the industry, and how you begin with everything. What was the idea why you started with recruiting?
Yeah. So I started recruiting in 2011, straight out of university. Um, like a lot of people, the idea behind going into recruiting, it wasn't necessarily the plan, um, but it was something I found myself doing. I'd say within a month or two, I was pretty hooked. I joined quite a new organisation who were very small. So they were founded in 2009, and I was only the fourth hire. So there was a lot of opportunity to work directly with the founders, learn lots, and progress. For the first 6 years of my career, I was a contract recruiter. So I helped companies hire contract software engineers. Um, and back then, LinkedIn wasn't so much of a thing. It was a lot of very phone based, email as well, obviously, um, but researching, finding companies to prospect, finding out who would hire contractors, trying to make relationships with them, and then also with the contractors and make some placements. After 6 years, I became a director with the firm and got more involved with training and managing staff. So having done the job and then also having trained the job, got a good idea of what I didn't like doing, what other people don't like doing, what works, what
Mhm.
doesn't. Um, since COVID and over the last couple of years, the market's not been as strong. We've probably downsized a little bit, and I've stepped back into doing the day job. I'm actually now doing permanent recruitment, still for software engineers, and mostly in um, Manchester in the north of England. So again, in that time since doing the job as to now, things have changed a bit. LinkedIn is an absolute necessity now, but there's also so many other wonderful tools that you can use to help identify customers. But you've also got automation tools and other things to help free up your time to prospect more people. Um, so yeah, that's my background, and that's what I'm doing just now.
Okay, nice. Contract recruitment within software engineers, is that still a thing these days, or is it much more permanent? Because
Yeah,
I see a
so
lot of permanent in that space.
our business is kind of ebbed and flow, but at the moment we're doing 50-50 contract and perm. The guy who took over from me, um, when I stepped into management, we hired someone to take over my patch, and he's still actually doing it. And doing it very successfully. He's been doing that for 9 years. He's been our top biller for the last 4 years. It's still very lucrative. The thing with contract is once you get a book, it's hard to get off the ground, but once you get a book up and running, you get like contract extensions and stuff, which effectively you're getting two fees for the same candidate, which you can't do in perm. Um, but it is harder to get off the ground. But yeah, when we were doing really well, we were probably doing a good bit more perm than contract, but it's probably 50-50 just now.
And you did very well. You told me 2018, 19 was like peak, 15 people, two branches, something like that.
Yeah, so we had that was probably at our peak. We probably had 18 consultants plus all the management and back office staff. We were probably about 24. We had a sister business at the time that did renewable energy recruitment who were in the same office. A lot of that was international based, so it was quite a nice place to be. We also have recruited in Thailand since 2015. Someone who worked for us in Edinburgh moved out there and set up the business, which is quite a great story. And we've recruited in for the tech side. We've recruited into Finland and Sweden as well. So yeah, that was probably our peak. But like a lot of our competition and like a lot of the recruitment industry over the last couple of years, we're lower on consultants and we're doing more with less. Just as the market dipped a little bit, it was hard to keep enough work around for everybody.
Okay. And What would you say? Why is the just for my interest the renewable energy sector? Why this that had to close down? Like it's just because I think yeah, there's some companies betting on these,
Yeah.
especially in Germany, in Finland, and so on.
So
So
they were quite successful for some years. When COVID hit, the IT business just recovered so quickly, and people who recruited in tech in 21 and 22 will know just how mad the market was. Like those were our best 2 years in our 17-year trading history by like a mile. But the renewable energy recruitment at that time, that market didn't rebound as fast. And they're in the same offices as watching us have all this success, and they're really struggling.
Jesus, yeah,
It was quite a tough environment, um, and we were recruiting into Germany, France, Sweden with those nationals who lived in Edinburgh. Um, it just wasn't the work. Whereas actually, I understand what you're saying. Over the last 2 years, we've learned that market's actually taken off. It would have been great if we'd kept that business around.
yeah,
But just with the circumstances and the individuals and the person who was leading it, the decision was made to just discontinue the business and extract the cash that was remaining. A lot of time and energy had gone into it, and there was some cash sitting in it that people could take. And he's gone on to do other things. I still
yeah.
see him. We go to the same gym, so I still see him, and
And
he's
also
getting
the
on
same
fine.
pub, or
Yeah, well, he's also got three young kids, so we get to the pub less often. But yeah, I see him in there, and yeah, doing fine. It's just one of those things. I think just timing and the individuals concerned, and it's a shame because the renewable energy market now, I think, is a lot more buoyant.
yeah, yeah, it's really going on. It's also taking a hit recent months, and this year. There are a lot of those out there. So basically, yeah, it's pretty interesting because there's then a downside after COVID, as everyone knows, and then after COVID you have this really good year. Everyone had this super year, especially in AT. And then basically, I think what was it, beginning or end of no end of 2024, it started to slow down a bit. To 2024 5 was pretty harsh. What was it again for you? It's pretty different for different industries. How was the market for you?
It might have been as early as 2023 for us that the first
Ah, okay.
signs were there. I think that's when like the big tech companies in like say California started their mass layoffs, and then all that. I think companies that overhired had all gone a bit too far, and you could kind of see it. It was like a bubble. So I think it was then. And what's happened now is there's much. At that point, you probably had clients queuing up, and they were all wanting to work with recruiters because they were all fighting for talent, and there wasn't enough of it, and they were offering mad salaries, and it was great. Also, you've seen that in the internal recruitment market. We lost a couple of people to internal jobs that were offering crazy salaries for really inexperienced recruitment consultants because companies saw that as a way of being more cost efficient of hiring. Like, it was never going to last. When things started to slow down, as they inevitably did, those internal recruiter hires were the first to go. Um, and the companies that still have really good internal recruitment teams are now really pressuring them to fill all the roles directly. So there's less agency usage. So there's been a real push over the last couple of years for firms like us to succeed. We need to be adding value in lots of different ways. It's not just about finding them people. We need to be giving them a real value add and doing things that the internal recruiters maybe their time doesn't allow for, or maybe just having a slightly better specialty. But the difference between when I started in 2011 and now, and now that I'm back doing the job, is the quality of internal recruitment teams has gone up tenfold. Um, I think before it used to be just a kind of afterthought of, or someone works in HR or in people team, we'll get them to do some recruitment. Whereas now they're hiring specifically for talent people, talent acquisition specialists, and they have separate HR and people teams who deal with, like conflicts or pay dispute, doing annual salary review, and all this kind of stuff, all the HR stuff. And it used to be there used to be the kind of not a war, but a kind of battle between agency recruiters and internal recruiters. That internal recruiters were failed agency recruiters and all that, but they're not. They're really good now, and they know what they're doing, and they can fill all the roles. So it's seeing them as contemporaries, not as adversaries, building relationships with them, just so we can help on the odd role where they struggle,
Yeah.
and not having that kind of entrenched view of they're not as good as me, they don't know what they're doing, I should be working on this, and bypassing them and going to hiring managers and this kind of stuff. So it's a bit more of a tricky field to navigate.
Yeah, fair. What I hear a lot is that they want really don't go to recruitment agencies, these internal talent teams, because if they go to, they have to use their budget and they don't want to, and that's why. But
Over
yeah,
the last 2 years, that yeah, more there's been more concern around cost.
yeah,
And if they're paying an internal recruiter or recruitment team X salary, they want, why am I paying them and then having to use an agency? But on the odd role where it's more specialist and stuff, like good internal recruiters will admit, it's like, well, a specialist agency is invaluable. The market's not, we've not gone away completely. It's still a very, very large part. The recruitment market in the UK is still massive, the agency recruitment market. So, we're still there. It's just that anybody who joined in 2021, 22 got a real false impression of how easy it was.
correct. And that's actually very, very good that you said that, because the thing is now you have again a balanced market. So basically the bubble is burst, and now you have basically this back to normalities, but it is not as normal as 2018, 19. So basically you have to go back to really when you started to totally to the beginning, because 2000 between 2000, 2016 and 19 there was like this crazy investment bubble, so to say. Everyone got investments, seed funding, pre-seed, so everyone could hire also unexperienced people. Then you had the COVID where nothing happened. Then you had your boom. And now we are actually back again where it was a normal, so to say. People are used to the last few years, and that's why they think, what my impression with a lot of people think, like people just come to you because they are used to inbound. So people just come to you, I have a good website, I do a bit of posts on LinkedIn, I message the people. So it's a pretty candidate-led market. So if you have a good candidate, everyone will take it.
Yeah.
So now what we are seeing, and what also we talked about, is you actually have to get out there as you did 2011. LinkedIn is working, but not as good as it used to be because it's overflooded. So actually you are back to 2011 where you have to grab the phone and the email address and then basically go out there. What was your experience? Is it like so, or correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong?
no, so the other thing about 2011 was, and the company was started in 2009, and that was just after the GFC, the massive financial crash. And I'd say the market now is quite similar to when I started. Like the real value was in finding a client. I think the way you go about finding them is different, and I think in some ways the market's more saturated. But you're right about LinkedIn these days. Back then, getting a message on LinkedIn was a novelty. Whereas if you're a prospect on LinkedIn, you probably turn the notifications off. It's just the amount of. So you've got to find a way of getting someone's attention. Again, that's the novelty, and but the thing that's remained consistent throughout it is the phone. Nobody's really invented anything yet that does it quicker than you can do with the phone.
Yeah.
If you exchange 5 or 6 emails, it's like this could have been done in a 2-minute phone call.
Yeah.
But I think since COVID, there's been an aversion to the phone. I think younger people are less inclined to use the phone. They like voice notes, they like WhatsApp, they like whatever else. So there's that as well. But yeah, it's been quite a few changes, and I suppose having done it for so long, you've got to adapt a little bit, and you have your own personal preferences of how you would like to be contacted, but you've got to think about how other people would like to be contacted as well.
Yeah. And how did you do, like before you started boilr? How did you do your outreach? Like how does that look like? Because I think, as you told me, you are one of the people that actually understand that it is a numbers game. So basically you have to get out there, send as many as you get. Usually when you do cold outreach, phone or email, it is like a 5% conversion to 3 to 5%.
It depends how you interpret conversion. I like to work off like response rate or just engagement rate. Like how is someone engaging with me, and in at least a kind of semi-positive way. How we would do it, we're very established in Scotland, so we've been doing it for 17 years, and our own database is pretty good. So we know who all the companies are. The individuals at those businesses, just by the nature of what we do, they change quite a lot. So that information is organic and that needs updated. We will track just as many will do, like who's hiring through leads and stuff. We'll also track stuff like who's getting funding. We have tools to see that kind of stuff. And just through speaking to candidates about, and noticing where they work, who else they've been speaking to, all that kind of stuff, you start to pick it up. But outreach wise, yeah, like when I started out, like you were hoping to, certainly on a contract desk, you were hoping to, say you split your day in two and you were doing client outreach and then candidate outreach in the afternoon, client outreach in the morning, you'd hope to at least outreach to 25, 30 clients a day. And that at that time, that would be a phone call, a voicemail, and an email. And if you got them on the phone, you don't leave the voicemail, but you would always follow up with an email. These days, there's a few ways of doing it. With a lot of people work from home, if you phone a switchboard these days, quite often you don't even get anywhere, because I used to have direct dials for people. It was like, like the main office number with a little extension, and nobody really has that anymore. So quite often it's setting up a time to speak. So the engagement you want, you either send an email or a LinkedIn in-mail or some kind of engagement, and then you set up a Teams call or something, or a phone call, and it's about agreeing a time to speak. So people are more, you've got to be more respectful of people's time and what they might be doing at any given time. But the numbers should still say the same, like depending on how many leads you've got. But it's not just leads you would reach out to. You also want to look out to, like, did you help X client a year ago with something? Check in with them. Are they going to be looking again soon? Or even a company you didn't help out, did they hire? Do you know they hired a certain skill set? Are you going to get in and say, how's that person getting on? Are you going to be looking for those types of people again? So just tracking the market.
Okay. And
Your 25 to 30 outreaches might be a mixture of 10 to 15 leads and then 10 to 15 like pre-booked follow-up calls from previous work.
okay. And so you were tracking, as you said, investment and also your current database. So were you also like going out into the market every day, every morning on LinkedIn or anywhere to see, okay, who's hiring, to get other data, or is it really just database led and
No, you would do that as well. I mean, from when I started, I still have that habit of just looking at the job boards first thing in the morning. You can also set up like alerts to come into your email from these job boards and with the new jobs. But I mean, the job boards that I checked back in 2011, some of them are no longer around and what have you. But yeah, I have that habit of jumping on, seeing what's there, jump on LinkedIn, check the jobs in there. It's really hard though to check every individual company's website. That's just going to take too long, right? So, and that's where the Boiler has come in, where I can jump on Boiler and I can instead of having to go on every different job board and website. That's now one of the first tabs I open in the morning is Boiler. Say, well, is there any new leads? It also emails me if there's new things to go in and check. But like just out of habit, I go in and check every morning. Where's my new leads, and I'll build that into my business development plan.
And what you said before when we talked, when I asked how it was going, so you talked about different websites like Greenhouse and other websites which are good to track, because only LinkedIn, there can be few that you don't find, as you said, but it is still a lot of people are on there.
Yeah.
That's why, yeah, it's interesting to hear that.
Yeah, so the LinkedIn point is good. Like, a lot of our competition will find those, but as I said to you, Boiler's actually found some jobs on LinkedIn that I hadn't found. So that's useful. But the most valuable ones are where you've managed to scrape a company's website, or they're using Greenhouse or some kind of ATS. You've managed to find it, because odds are less of my competitors will have seen that. And when I outreach, I've got more chance of getting a response.
And so basically you see those companies, let's say it's like, usually what is it, between 25 and 30, sometimes less, sometimes more. And then basically you just search for the hiring manager, and then you just send them an email or give them a call. I mean, you use any enrichment tools, or how does it work?
So we use Full Enrich as well, see if we can get some mobile numbers. That has interesting results. People are like, how did you get my mobile? I mean, 90% of the time, and you explain like, okay, fair enough, but it's like, well, it's been on the web, somewhere. And they might say like, do you know what? Don't phone this one again. Phone this one, or just set up this, and that's
The work phone.
you've made the
Mhm.
contact. Sorry. Um, yeah. So sometimes on like a LinkedIn ad, the person who posted it is noted. It's like so you would know who to get in touch with. I suppose the conundrum for the modern recruiter is if there isn't someone on the list, do I get in touch with, say it was a software engineer, do I get in touch with the software engineering manager or do I go straight
Yeah.
to talent or HR? And I think it takes kind of experiencing and a reading of the company. You might research a little bit more into who works there. They might not be big enough to have a talent team, in which case you would go to the software engineering manager. But if not, then you probably go to the talent team first.
Okay.
So
And
it's kind of
also,
working out who to go to. Yeah.
like once you have that person, how many emails or quote codes do you send out to try? How many companies do you try to reach? If you do outbound, if you have the results from boilr, I was like, just to really understand how much do you do regularly, because business development is a regular thing, and only if you do it regularly you actually get good results.
Yeah. So I mean, we would always teach that you want to be getting somewhere between 20 and 30 a day, and that will be a combination of leads and like you may have made yourself a little laid some crumbs on the CRM before. You might want to get in touch with X company in 3 months because they might be hiring, and those pop up and remind you to call. Um, Doing it consistently, as you say, is the real key. But the other key is in the follow up. So you can't just email someone once and then kind of forget about it. So I operate personally on like a three strikes and you're out rule. Like, I won't email them 3 days in a row because I think that's unreasonable. But like, say three times over a period of 2 weeks, and if I don't hear anything back, I'll try and get them on another platform. And if I don't hear anything back, I'll try again in a few months. Um, but the amount of people who get back to your second or third message, and it's just, I did see your other message, but I was really busy, and then it goes down
Got it.
20,
Yeah.
20, 30 below in their email inbox, and they just forget.
Yeah, and so basically, I've been doing that now for 1 month. So before we end this call, just for us to know, how many people have you got an answer to, and did you get any success from it, like placement or something like that?
Yeah, so there's one really good story that's happened in that one lead I found on Boiler, probably mid-December, reached out to someone in the talent team, got introduced to the manager, worked the job, sent 3 or 4 CVs, I think 4 CVs, got 2 interviews. One was invited to second stage and has been offered the job. I'm just waiting on a decision from that candidate today whether they will take that or another thing. And also a lot of positive like just engagement as well. I'd say probably between 5 and 10 other companies coming back to reach out, and that might not sound like a lot, but if you do that consistently over 12 months, and you can convert even 10% of them into clients, and you're doing great for a recruitment company of our size. Um, so yeah, it's been quite good. I think the real key, as I said, is in finding the ones where well, finding them early, but also finding the ones where maybe less of my competition is seeing them,
Hmm.
and they're maybe getting less inundated with agencies offering help. So already some good results. Yeah.
Did you I forgot to ask that, but did you actually find new companies? You said you are like, what was it, 15 years in the Scotland market. Are there companies you didn't know about, like small ones, or is that because
Um,
you have a
I,
large database?
I think that's less common in Scotland, although there will be some. But certainly for me, recruiting in the north of England, we've done that for a long time, but we know that market less well. Um, and certainly the company, I think we were aware of the company that I've had the most success with, but we hadn't. I personally wasn't aware of them. I think we had them on the database, but nobody had really outreached to them in a couple of years.
Ah,
So
okay.
you could probably class that as yeah, like we weren't aware of them.
Okay. And last but not least, if I may ask, how much would this deal get you if it would be signed?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of that and want to
So
share
it'd
it?
be somewhere around 8,000, which is a little bit less than our average. Our average fee sits at about 10K, but um, it's just because the salary's a little bit lower than maybe the average we would fill it. But then that's another good point, is that they had a budget up to I think up to 60, and the person that's going to get the job, we've managed to get a little bit lower than that. So good
Okay.
news for the company as well. So yeah, really pleased.
Fair. Okay, good. Hey, thank you very much for your time, Stuart. I wish you best of
No
luck that
problem.
it gets filled, and then we stay in touch. Maybe we speak in a few months, and hopefully have even more signings. But keep it up.
Awesome.
It's very good that you are that consistent. Not everyone does. Have a good one, Stuart. Thanks, man. Bye bye.